Welcome. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council, help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established among us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of the lands and waterways now known as Manningham. Council pays respect to elders past, present and emerging and values their ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Manningham Council acknowledges Australia's First Peoples as traditional owners of lands and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contribution made to Manningham over many years by people of many diverse cultures and backgrounds. Welcome everyone. I welcome all of you who are joining us today in the gallery. It's wonderful to see so many people here. And I also welcome people who are online to observe tonight's proceedings. I would also like to acknowledge, I think she's here, former Councillor Meg Downey, for joining us. I'd like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your voice and/or image is broadcast by council. As I said earlier, no additional recording or filming of this meeting is permitted without council's consent. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and reading the title. I will then call for a mover and a seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors can join the debate on any item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda. Public question time provides people with the opportunity to ask questions of the council. Council has allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process for public question time is set out in our governance rules. Questions must be received prior to the start of the meeting to be asked. Where we receive advance notice of a question, in accordance with our governance rules, we will provide a verbal response to the question at our meeting. Questions we receive just prior to the meeting may be taken on notice if we don't have the information available to provide a meaningful response. If this happens, we will provide you with a written response within 10 working days. Our governance rules provide we will deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and up to 4 questions on any one issue. These rules will be enforced to ensure a broad range of topics and perspectives can be heard during question time. When it is your turn to ask a question, I'll ask you to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. After you ask your questions, you'll have 2 minutes to make a brief statement. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to council through the normal channels. To ensure the efficient conduct of our meeting and maximum participation during question time, all questions and answers shall be as brief as possible and no discussion will be entered into. Councillors and the gallery are reminded that question time is to be conducted in a respectful manner, having consideration to the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item number 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. We have no apologies. I note Councillor Mayne is joining the meeting online today. Councillor Mayne, can you please confirm that you can see and hear the meeting?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can see and hear the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? Item number 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. There have been no prior notifications of conflicts of interest. Councillors, does anyone have a conflict of interest they would like to declare? And there are none noted. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Grievous?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, I'd like to move the minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of August 2025 be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item number 5, presentations, and we have no presentations this evening. Item number 6, petitions. 6.1, councillors, we've received 2 petitions for tabling tonight. 6.1, petition Gumnut Gully preschool relocation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the online petition with 967 signatories requesting council to abandon the proposed relocation of Gumnut Gully Preschool to Corsican Reserve be tabled and referred to the relevant officers for response.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. Item 6.2, petition Doncaster Rovers Soccer Club. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the petition with 557 signatories requesting council to bring back Friday night seniors games at the Doncaster Rovers Soccer Club be tabled and referred to the relevant officer for response.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, and I know that the Rovers Club is growing and the current policy may not be longer applicable for them, and the same applies to other clubs as well. So I also know that the officers are reviewing the policy, so hopefully wherever possible, the clubs can be notified as soon as possible, so that the players, parents of young players and members could be well prepared for the following season. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Grievous, would you like to speak?
No,
to
thank
the
you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And Councillor May, thank you. And that's carried unanimously. I see you. I've got you. Yeah, good work. Okay. Item 7, public question time. So we have received several questions for tonight's meeting. Anyone who's registered a question with council will have the opportunity to read out their question or choose to have their question read out by the CEO. I'll call upon those who've registered their questions to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. Our first question tonight comes from Vincent and Wendy Lungard. Vincent and Wendy, if you're in the gallery, would you come to the lectern, please? As I said, you've got 2 minutes to provide background and then also ask your question.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Bring to your attention that on Saturday morning at 3 a.m. on August the 30th, 2025, during a wild storm, a large gum tree in Zerby's Reserve fell on our house at number 4 Dalkeith Court and caused significant damage. Luckily, no one was hurt, but we were left in a state of shock, as you can well imagine. We still have a large number of trees very close to the fence line of our property and that of our neighbours on either side. We are all very concerned that these trees will also fall, causing further damage to property and or people. In addition, during the summer months, when these trees flower, they attract a swarm of fruit bats, which make a mess on our property and pose a health risk. Furthermore, on the reserve side of the same trees, we have a public walkway, which is used by many people, including young children and very elderly nearby aged care facilities. We instigated council to report on the condition of the remaining trees. On September the 2nd, they stated in a written note that remaining trees, and I quote, were healthy and in good condition. We questioned this, and at our cost, we engaged an independent arborist to give a second opinion. His preliminary findings on one tree in particular, this tree is only 1.5 metres from where the tree fell, and this tree was in very poor condition, was in part hollow due to rot, and posed a significant risk of falling over onto the next door neighbour's property over rooms in which their children sleep. The level 5 arborist that we engaged advised that all the trees along the fence line were inappropriate given the species that were planted, red box eucalyptus, due to their lateral roots, which are prone to rot if not in well-drained soil. Our area is in heavy clay soil, which retains moisture, and this area is also heavily mulched. The fallen tree was a red box, and its root system was found to be severely compromised with rot, contributing to its complete upending. The remaining trees are highly likely to do the same, especially the one with a hollow trunk. Since that time, it's actually been removed yesterday afternoon, which is very pleasing. However, since lodging this question, we've discovered that termite nests have actually been discovered in both bases of these trees. It's likely that termites are now in the area. This does not give...
Thank you, Mr Lungard. Are you able to ask your questions now?
Sure, I can. In light of the above, does the council agree that all trees along the fence be removed as soon as possible and replaced with low-growing, bird-attracting and flowering native species to eliminate the risks of personal injury and property damage?
And do you want to ask your second question as well?
Can the council assure residents and the large number of people using the public walkway near the trees in question that it is safe to walk, ride or picnic in this part of the reserve? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Tony McGann, Acting Director City Services, to come up and answer your questions.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for your questions. Council does not support the immediate removal of all trees along the fence line. We committed to and we have conducted further investigation work to address the urgency of the matter. Since the on-site meeting held on Friday 12 September with Councillor Chen and officers, an independent arborist has completed a certified level 3 assessment of the remaining eucalypt near the fallen red box. This was undertaken on Monday 22nd of September, and following this assessment, the tree was removed along with a juvenile Eucalyptus ficifolia, as root plate failure was identified in the second tree. The logwood acacia has been left on site pending consultation with our landscape team, and the old root ball from this tree has been cut off and is awaiting removal by our contractor. It was also reported that no current termite activity was observed. Officers are currently reviewing the Zerby's Reserve Management Plan as discussed at the site meeting, to identify if there are any planned future upgrades to any section of the reserve. Council supports the tree management plan and the associated work practices and believes this approach is best practice to managing our tree assets and addressing any associated risk posed by vegetation on council land. Through you, Madam Mayor, in relation to question 2, Council cannot entirely mitigate all public safety risks associated with trees on council land. Council believes that all public safety risks associated with vegetation on council land are being managed effectively by the implementation of the practices and the processes outlined in the tree management plan.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Mr Lungard, for your question. Our next question is from Dr Gillian Garvey on behalf of the Warrandyte Scouts. Yeah, please come to the lectern. And again, you've got 2 minutes for your brief statement, and then please ask your questions.
Hi, my name is Ellie and I'm a scout in the Warrandyte Scout Group. We are here representing the Warrandyte Scout Group to talk to Manningham Council about our Scout Hall. Represented here are a range of our youth members and volunteer adult leaders. Warrandyte Scout Group has been an integral part of Warrandyte community for almost 70 years. Many of our current members are second and third generation Warrandyte Scout or Manningham District Scout members. Warrandyte Scouts provide an important youth-led, non-competitive, inclusive program that caters for all interests and abilities. Our youth members range in age 5 years to young adult. Our volunteer adult leaders undertake extensive training with Scouts Victoria, and some of our leaders also take on an important Manningham Scout District leadership roles. We currently both have Joey and Scout District leaders in our group. Indeed, Warrandyte Scout Group is one of the most progressive and community-orientated scout groups in Manningham. As outlined in the support letter we have provided to Council from District Commissioner Paul Granger. Our current Scout Hall was self-funded and built in 1957. Due to our success, we have outgrown our current hall and are seeking support from Council to renovate or upgrade our building. Consultations began with Manningham Council about a hall upgrade in 2014, with architectural drawings commissioned and hall renovations being included in several council budgets. However, despite of all of this, we are still waiting on our hall being upgraded 11 years later. Warrandyte Scout Hall requires a dedicated hall that we set up properly to run our Scouts Victoria program. We have provided a document outlining our hall requirements to Council. The hall that we need is similar to the facilities that Manningham Council has provided to other Scout groups in the area. Thank you for supporting Warrandyte Scouts.
Hi, my name is Emily and I am a cub in the Warrandyte Scout Group. My question for the Council is, the Council identified the urgent need on undertaking renovations and upgrade to the Warrandyte Scout in 2014, and architectural plans have been developed and approved at the cost in excess of $100,000 to the Council. What is the current status of this project?
Hi, my name is Rupert, and I am a scout in the Warrandyte Scout Group. My question for Council is, Manningham has a great track record in investing in scouting, i.e. other district halls, but has not invested in the Warrandyte Scout Group for many decades. While we have observed several expensive upgrades to Warrandyte sporting clubs in recent years, can Manningham Council commit to providing Warrandyte Scout Group with a designated, suitable Scout Hall that is fit for the purpose of running our Scout Victoria program?
Thank you and well done. I'm going to ask Lee Robson, who is our Director of Connected Communities, to provide a response to both of your questions.
Thank you so much for the questions, and it's so lovely to see young people being actively involved in advocating for a new Scout Hall, so welcome and thank you. You may be aware that officers from our community participation team have recently met with the Warrandyte Scouts to discuss a range of options for the future of scouting in Warrandyte. We're very aware of your needs. The existing site has a range of constraints and planning controls which really limit the ability to upgrade it successfully or to expand the current hall. So we are starting to look at broader options to meet your needs for you and for the wider community. We're currently looking at alternate solutions. We're exploring that as part of a broader review into community facilities in Warrandyte to ensure that you have a fit-for-purpose facility that can be provided in a timely way. Council officers will continue to meet and work with representatives of the Warrandyte Scouts Group. We remain committed to finding a workable solution, and we hope to come back to you soon with some more positive news. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you again for being here and for speaking so well. Thank you. Our next questions are from Mia Aspro-Potamides. Mia, if you'd like to come forward to the lectern. Again, you've got 2 minutes to provide some introductory statements and then to ask your question.
My name is Mia Asper-Potamides. I'm not only a member of the Doncaster Road Committee, but I'm also a part of the Under-15s girls team. I'm here seeking an hour extension on the existing 9 p.m. curfew for 11 weeks of the 52-week calendar, and these are my two questions. My first question for you is, why can we not be granted an hour extension for the 11 weeks of the year? We have full support of all our adjoining neighbours, and after running Friday night games for more than 7 years to 10:30 p.m, we have never received not one single complaint. This year, Wonga Wizards have had 8 games post 10 p.m, and so have Manningham. Why is this allowed and we were only granted 4? Doncaster Hockey Club and Venator Club have no night restrictions. My second question for you is, there are 14 local soccer clubs in Metro Melbourne that entertain Friday night games post 10 p.m, and 22 AFL football clubs. As we have community support, see attached petition, which we have over 500 signatures on, immediate neighbours support, 0 complaints, why are we being so heavily restricted when other councils are so supportive of their community-based clubs? Our club of over 500 members is made up of 94% rate-paying Manningham residents who love the engagement with their children on a Friday night. Now this has been taken away from us. What alternative do we as young kids have to do in Manningham on a Friday night? A community club like ours, I have found, is amazing for my mental well-being. The sense of belonging, the social interaction, the working opportunities that present on Friday nights cannot be repeated on a Saturday, as we are playing our own games either home or away, and collectively cannot gather as we did previously on Friday nights. We need our games back on Fridays and only ask for a 1-hour extension for 11 weeks of the year. And in conclusion to your current restrictions creates the following issues for our Saturday games. We have no change rooms from 1 o'clock onwards available. We have to cancel and or reschedule games for juniors due to pitch availability. And we also are not able for the junior teams to support and watch senior players as they are playing at the same time. So on behalf of the Doncaster Rovers Soccer Club, committee, players and families, I ask that this can be reinstated so that we are able to unite under the lights as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia, and well done. It's great to have support in the room as well. I'm going to ask again Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to respond to your 2 questions.
Thanks so much, Mayor, and thank you to all the members of the Doncaster Rovers for being here and showing your support. It really underlines how important community sport is in Manningham, and it's certainly part of what we try and do to support the health and wellbeing goals of our community, so thank you for being here. The provision of sports reserves and facilities, including floodlighting, plays a really important part in health and wellbeing, as you pointed out, Mia. And we're aware that the Doncaster Rovers wish to play matches beyond 9 p.m. We have been in regular contact with the club about this. Earlier this year, a floodlight exemption process was implemented to allow clubs to apply for later finish times for a small number of night matches. These requests were assessed on a case-by-case basis. 4 exemptions were approved for the Rovers over the 2025 winter season. We have heard you. Officers are now in the process of carrying out a review of floodlight usage times for next winter season, which will include benchmarking with other councils. That means we'll be having a look at what our neighbours are doing and looking for a consistent approach across the region. It's expected that this review will be finalised later this year, and we will continue to liaise closely with you in the Rovers Soccer Club on the findings and any changes that come out of the review. Thank you also for your petition. You've made your voice very clear tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you again for your question. Our next questions are from Meg Downey. Meg, are you in the room? If not, I'll ask our CEO to read your questions. Meg?
Thank you, Mayor. And these questions relate to the use of Council's functions room. Question number 1 is, for how many years and at what cost to Council was it provided free of use? Was it to provide free use of the Council functions room to Liberal MP Kevin Andrews at no charge? And the second question was, the precedent has long been set. Will Council act as a bipartisan body and offer similar usage to the new ALP member for Menzies, Gabrielle Ng?
Thank you for your questions, Meg, and I'll again ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to provide a response.
Thank you, Meg, for your inquiry. Council endorsed its community facilities access and concession policy in November 2019 for implementation commencing in July 2020. Historical arrangements in place at that time that were not in keeping with the policy were phased out and the new policy was implemented. The current policy provides 1 free hire per year for grassroots community groups, and that free use is for room hire only. The value is around $500 and other costs such as catering or staffing are still met by the hirer. The policy states that activities organised by political parties, candidates or members of parliament fall under the full fee paying category when using council community facilities. So in short, a new policy was adopted by council, and that is the guiding document for officers as they take bookings for our function centre.
Thank you, Lee. Next question from Darren McGinty, Warrandyte Basketball Association President. Welcome, Darren. Again, you've got 2 minutes to provide some background and then please ask your questions.
Sure. Hi. So my name is Darren McGinty. I'm the President of the Warrandyte Basketball Association, and I suppose I'm here really just to talk about equitable access to local facilities. Mullumbullen Basketball Stadium, it's ostensibly a basketball stadium, although it is obviously used for other things as well. That was built to serve the constituents of Manningham. And there are 3 basketball associations in the city of Manningham, the Doncaster, who are a smaller association. There's the Bulleen Boomers, and there's the Warrandyte Venom. They're the 3 associations in the city of Manningham. Now, Doncaster are a smaller association with much more modest needs, and their facilities they have available to them by their own admission are fine, relatively speaking. Bulleen are a larger association, and they have access to 9 or 10 courts beyond Mullumbullen Stadium. And then you have the other significant basketball association in Manningham being Warrandyte, which has access to 1 court and virtually almost no access to Mullumbullen Stadium. Now, there's a whole long, exciting history about how that came to be, and it's not about looking backwards, it's about looking forwards. The bottom line here is that so much of the available calendar of Mullumbullen Stadium is actually allocated to private businesses, basketball associations from outside the city of Manningham, other sports with significantly smaller social imprints in terms of membership. Just Warrandyte alone has over 3,000 members that we serve at a domestic level, a representative level, and a semi-professional level, as do Bulleen. So it's not about taking over the stadium or having its exclusive use.
Sorry, time.
No
Can you ask your questions? Thank you.
Sure. So my 2 questions are, I'm mindful of the broader medium to long-term project that's underway examining all of this. The problem is that the findings for that aren't even due until November or so. So is there a way that Manningham Council can provide in the interim some clear and prioritised direction to the facility managers Aligned Leisure with regards to making some fairly significant changes to their existing booking framework? Warrandyte can't really wait for more than 12 months, which would be the implication of not acting fairly soon on this. We need some major bookings in this cycle. Our second question, since this entire subject is actually an existential issue for the Warrandyte Basketball Association, our capital reserve, we'd be prepared to pay upfront an amount of $200,000 in terms of forward bookings, if that helped for us to provide as a signal of commitment and how important it is to us. If that would make things easier, that's all we have, and that's what we would like to offer, if that indeed makes any kind of a difference. Because, as I said, to conclude, this is actually an existential issue for our 3,000 members. We literally cannot perform properly at the levels that we perform at with the lack of facilities that we have. We're virtually shut out, and the inertia has to change.
Thank you, Darren,
That's it.
and thank you for putting that problem so clearly as well for us. I'm going to ask Lee Robson again, Director of Connected Communities, to provide a response.
Thank you, Darren. And I know that you've been speaking with our officers and that you have put your case and you have been heard indeed by the officers. There is a really high demand for councils' indoor stadiums across multiple sports. We're seeing high demand in basketball, netball, volleyball, badminton and table tennis, amongst others. Our stadiums are operating at capacity during peak hours. You're aware, and you've referred to it, that our indoor sports facilities plan is currently in development. That will provide what we need, which is a strategic framework for both capital and operational improvements, including the court allocations procedure. Key user groups, including the Warrandyte Basketball Association, have already been consulted as part of the development of this plan, and the draft plan is expected in early 2026. Officers and the facility managers, Aligned Leisure, recently met with the Warrandyte Basketball Association to gain a detailed understanding of the WBA's needs and to discuss short and long-term opportunities and approaches. The offer of the financial incentive is very generous. It's unfortunately not the issue at this stage. It's about availability and having a framework to make those decisions. Aligned Leisure is aware of the need to work with the Warrandyte Basketball Association regarding court availability at Mullen Stadium for the summer basketball season. We will continue to liaise with Aligned Leisure to ensure that you are well supported as we move through this process. Thank you very much for coming along this evening.
Thank you, Darren. Our next question is from Cynthia Pilley. Cynthia, would you like to come forward to the lectern to ask your questions? Again, you've got 2 minutes to make a brief statement before asking your questions.
Thank you, Deidre, Madam Mayor and officers, for the development of maps to help explain canopy tree protection measures inside private properties, and the work done on recent statewide planning scheme amendments in relation to canopy tree protection. It is pleasing that an amendment, VC 289, appears to introduce a planning permit requirement to remove, destroy or lop a canopy tree in residential areas, thus avoiding unnecessary removal, but providing an avenue whereby a tree can be legitimately removed if necessary. So I'd like to be sure and seek clarification that it is as good as it looks. So, does this amendment refer to trees on private property throughout Manningham? Would I, for instance, require a permit to remove a tree at my address at Rosamond Crescent? And should I wish to, or are there still areas unprotected by permits? And my second question is, given the above, residents will need to know of planning permits well before a tree is earmarked for lopping or removal, rather than finding out later that they should have had a permit. So what effective education program is planned in conjunction with an introduction article in Manningham Matters, which I understand will occur in subsequent editions?
Thank you, Cynthia, for your questions and for your advocacy on tree retention. It's very important. I'm going to ask Andrew McMaster, who is the Director of City Planning and Livability, to provide a response for you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Cynthia, for your ongoing advocacy and interest in tree controls in Manningham. For the benefit of those present and for the community who are watching at home, Planning Scheme Amendment VC 289 came into effect on the 15th of September 2025. That amendment updates the planning policy framework and all planning schemes across Victoria to introduce canopy trees and boundary canopy tree controls in residential areas at clause 52.37 of the planning scheme. The new clause 52.37 applies to all residential zones, with the exception of the low density residential zone. 17 Rosamond Crescent, your address, is in the general residential zone, and those controls would therefore apply to any removal of a tree that was proposed on your property. Applications under this clause for tree removal will be assessed under the VicSmart provisions, which means council is required to issue a decision within 10 business days. Those decisions are exempt from public notice and review provisions at VCAT. And there are some exceptions as well for minor tree trimming, the removal of dead canopy trees and emergency works. In relation to your second question, the next issue of Manningham Matters contains the article to promote the selection and planting of canopy trees. How we will advise the Manningham community about these changes to the planning scheme is something that is under consideration, and we'll be able to provide you with more information on that in due course. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Andrew. Our final questioner is Mr. Podolak. Would you like to come to the lectern, please, to make your statement? Again, Mr. Podolak, you have 2 minutes to make your statement and to ask any questions.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, and councillors, I wish to make more of a statement and a thank you and only one brief question. First of all, I'm comparing this body here with the political bodies that I have attended, and what's noticeable to me, very noticeable, is the disciplined, calm atmosphere that we've got here. And also the welcome to everybody. The discipline is really great. It appeals to me very much because I taught at RMIT for 30 years, testosterone-driven young fellas, so I know a little bit about discipline. Now, the reason why I mention this is before the last election, I telephoned politely at least half a dozen politicians, and each telephone call was a failure. I could not get through to speak with any one of them. One in particular, I was so persistent that I kept calling and calling every few weeks. And in the end, when it came to voting and I turned up to vote, I was handed this fellow's leaflet. And I said, I don't need it. I already know the guy. I've tried to call him 6 times. Well, we'll get him to call you back. I said, what for? So you can understand why I'm particularly impressed, because I had the privilege of telephoning and speaking with the mayor twice. No problem. I also spoke with Shirley Wahid for the aging. I'm beyond that age. And the reason why I called her was that I offered to, and did already now, give 2 talks about memory. Memory at our obsolete age can be a problem if you don't know how to use it.
Thank you, Mr. Podolak. I need, we've had time. I need you to ask your question.
Okay,
now.
just one more thing, please. I gave 2 talks, one at the Nunawading University for the Third Age, which was attended by about a dozen people. But once Sherry in this council assisted, suddenly I ended up with the bookings of 40 with a waiting list for the next year to talk about ageing. Now, the particular question that I'd like to ask, quite away from this, is there any communication between the council and the, whatever title they give, the roadworks that go around? When you travel down the main road and you want to get off this main road, the tram road, I believe, they've reduced from 2 lines to 1 line. There was never any sort of problem between drivers. They politely let each other in. So now they've put a multi-million-dollar wall to remove 1 line. You have now 1 line. Does the council ever communicate, or does the roadworks, whoever they are, communicate with the council and consult? And if not, why not?
Thank you, Mr. Podolak. And you did call me about this as well. I'm looking to get a response. We may need to take it on notice, because I think it's either referring to the roadworks on Tram Road when we did the traffic lights at Merlin Street, or the DTP, or the Northeast Link project, in which both cases we do engage with the departments. But if we've got your details, so I might ask our officers to provide a follow-up phone call or response to you in response to your question.
It also costs thousands of dollars to build this wall.
Yes, there's a lot of money spent on these road projects, absolutely. Yeah. But we will get you a response. So thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for your feedback as well.
And thank you once again.
Thank you, thank you. Now, councillors, apparently we have no audio on our Facebook feed, so I would like us to pause the meeting so that our team are able to restart the live feed. Can I please have a mover just to pause the meeting?
I'll move that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Can I have a motion to restart the meeting? Councillor Goff?
Madam Mayor, I move that we restart the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors, okay, item number 8, admission of urgent business, and there are no items of urgent business. Item number 9, planning permit applications, and there are no planning permit applications. Item number 10, city planning. 10.1, Manningham submission to the North East Links Eastern Package UDLP. Do I have a mover?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Bain, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would. Council has welcomed the opportunity to comment on this important plan, and I want to acknowledge the consultations that have occurred by our officers and with the council and various other stakeholders. Overall, we support the UDLP and recognise that it represents an improvement on the 2019 reference design. But with a project of this magnitude, our focus is firmly on ensuring that the final outcomes deliver a variety of community benefits, not just a transport upgrade. Manningham's submission sets out several key priorities. First of all, open space. We continue to seek a clear commitment to no net loss of public open space across the project. That means minimising the footprint wherever possible, providing transparency on exactly how much land is being taken, and seizing opportunities to unlock new or improved public areas. Second, active transport and safety. The Coonung Creek Trail and surrounding paths are vital for walking and cycling. We strongly support the new and upgraded shared paths shown in the plan, but we also call for seamless connections, best practice design and sensitive lighting to create a safe, welcoming network for people of all ages and abilities. Third, urban design and amenity. We support design measures to soften the impact of noise walls, reduce graffiti and integrate greening, but we seek durable materials, integrated colour rather than painted finishes, and lighting solutions that protect nearby residents from glare while improving safety at key nodes and underpasses. Fourth, environmental protection. Tree removals have already caused significant distress in our community. We seek maximum tree retention, transparent reporting of any removals outside the freeway footprint, and strong commitments to biodiversity through local Indigenous plantings and habitat replacement. Protecting waterways such as Coonung Creek and ensuring there is no further undergrounding is equally critical. And finally, future-proofing. The design must allow for sustainable maintenance with clear ownership responsibilities for assets such as bridges, noise walls and landscaped areas. Our community deserves infrastructure that will remain safe, attractive and cost-effective for future decades to come. We support the design, and again I want to thank you, the officers for their very good work on the submission. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I note that Councillor Bain has gone through the important aspects of our submission. I just wanted to say that our submission is strong and it has been consistent with all our other submissions to the other urban design landscape plans, which are the UDLPs, throughout the project. And that consistency must and always speaks to there being offset for this type of project because of the impact that it puts our residents through. That there should be net community benefit, that there should be no net loss of open space, there should be minimal tree removals, and the designs deliver more than just a road expansion. We talked about the importance, Councillor Bain talked about the importance of open space, places like Boronia Reserve and Tram Road Reserve. Upgrades to these sites to offset the construction in the area to ensure that they are safe, accessible, enjoyable open spaces for sport, recreation and community gatherings. Councillor Bain talked about active transport. He mentioned the Coonung Creek Trail, making sure also that the connections to this trail are safe, seamless and meet industry best standards. That's why we have called for lighting, signage and stairs. The other aspect that we have asked for is green treatments to that urban design to ensure that lighting is there for safety, but it doesn't harm nearby homes and wildlife areas. The future proofing is a very important part of this submission for the UDLP. It's about clarifying who will own and manage what aspect. That includes paths, bridges and landscaping. Finally, the value of culture, heritage and environment. We are asking for greater protection of trees, local biodiversity, celebration of the Coonung Creek, cultural and ecological assets, and also the opportunities for art and historical trails, both to honour our Wurundjeri Woiwurrung values and our unique Manningham history. This UDLP has been carefully considered and the recommendations are important, and I ask that they are taken seriously because it creates safer connections, greener spaces, stronger community outcomes and truly reflects the needs of Manningham now and in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion? Councillor Chen?
And thank you, Mayor. And because open spaces are essential for urban communities, so I would like to speak to this focus area. As Councillor Baines and Councillor Lang touch on this important issue, in our submission, Council also brings to the attention of NELP an upgrade opportunity at Baronia Reserve. Baronia Reserve is a very important local sports and recreation destination surrounded by mature vegetation. It was identified in the Coonan Creek Linear Park Management Plan 2011. In 2018, Council endorsed the North East Link Issues and Opportunities paper. Baronia Reserve was again identified as one of the sites of significance in our response to NELP. So progressing improvement in this reserve have been delayed as a result of the NELP project. It has caused adverse financial impact to Council. Mayor, Baronia Reserve is adjacent to the boundary, the project boundary, and is a key location that a net community benefit could be achieved. So we call for NELP to give back to the community who has been impacted severely during construction by providing Baronia Reserve additional upgrades of landscaping, parking, and connecting paths. Mayor, a priority for Council considering the urban design and landscape plan and the whole North East Link project is to ensure that there is no net loss of open space for the community. No net loss of open space requires minimizing the project footprint and unlocking new and additional areas for public open spaces. In the past, limited discussion occurred on a high level, but no details have ever been provided on how much open space is lost overall. So building trust, I believe, with stakeholders, including council and local residents, is essential for project success. This could only be achieved through data and information transparency. We could assume good faith, I suppose, but from past experiences, the community needs assurance. So therefore, we request NELP to advise Council on exactly how the project footprint has been minimized and how much public open space is being taken up by the project in key locations for the urban design landscape plan. Also, safety is important. Everyone has the right to feel safe. Underpass location is a key priority in urban design. Effective lighting design should aim to enhance visibility for wayfinding and security, prevent crime, prevent glare and shadows. Lighting at all.
Thank you, Councillor. Time.
I need an extension, please. Thank you.
Councillor Goff, you move an extension. I have a seconder. Councillor Grievous, all those in favour of an extension of time? And that's carried. You've got another 2 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you. I will need less than 2 minutes. But lighting at all nodes should be reviewed with safety and crime prevention as the foremost consideration. Signs indicating the distance to the nearest exit would assist feeling of safety and comfort. So, in conclusion, there are many factors and changes that may occur to the ultimate design outcomes as work progresses through detailed design and beyond. We seek clearer commitment from NELP to consult Council with any changes to the design as a key stakeholder who has the local knowledge representing the evolving needs of our community. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have any other speakers for the motion? I might also speak for the motion, and Councillor Chen, you spoke very well about public open space, and Councillor Lang and Councillor Bain, and I think it's really important for us all to acknowledge that with this freeway package, almost a third of our geographic area will be impacted by the North East Link project. So it's a very significant project, and I thank the officers for their work on the UDLP submission. The UDLP actually says that the additional traffic lanes and the relocated entry and exit ramps from Tram Road will require widening of the freeway corridor and permanent use of open space to the north and south of the freeway. But what we're asking for is transparency on how much of that open space is actually going to be permanently lost to the community. It's a really important point that we need to understand, given our stance on no net loss, and that includes Tram Road Reserve and Erin Park. We've talked about, the councils, you've talked about tree removal. Really disappointingly, again, the UDLP says works approximately from 150 metres west of Tram Road to 250 metres east of Tram Road. All trees along this section will be removed. So that's 400 metres. All trees along this section will be removed. And that's quite different from what was in the original reference design. So again, we're asking, why do we have that tree canopy removal? It's going to be significant along Tram Road, the entry and exits ramps along Applewood and along Tram Road Reserve. So that's significant. It's a significant change from the original design that we're asking for further information on. And also, we can't ignore the impacts to the residents during this construction. And we've seen it with all the other packages, the impact of dust, the impact of noise, the impact of vibration, the impact of contractors parking on streets. And within our submission, we talk about amenity and to protect the amenity, and I thank officers for doing so. And also that all truck and vehicle access is provided from the freeway to avoid trucks on our local roads, because those local roads are very small and very windy and not suitable for trucks. So I thank the officers for their work and pulling out those key points of open space and tree canopy removal and amenity, as well as the other points from councillors. And I do ask councillors that all our residents, encourage them all to make a submission online, which is open until the 25th of September. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Well, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. I'll move to item 10.2, cat confinement order, outcome of pilot. Do I have a mover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move that the recommendation be adopted, please.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
I would. Thank you. Councillors, you'll recall a couple of years ago we spoke about this, and we, those who were here, it was quite a time where we approved the pilot, which was to run for 2 years, and that's come to the end. I have to say the officers have done a great job in terms of the process of the pilot, where they started out with, the process of not just saying it's a hard stop here. They did a lot of educating of the community. They've done a lot of consultation, and the pilot is at an end, as this motion puts forward, to end the pilot and to bring it into permanent being, the cat confinement order. And you'll see from the report that the officers have done a great amount of evaluation, including they've tracked social media, they've reviewed customer complaints over the time, they've reviewed animal impounding data, they've tracked stakeholder and what their positions are, including, among them is the FOMDAC, Cats Society of Victoria, various local vets, the RSPCA, and the Animal Welfare Victoria, which is a state government department, and they all concur that this is the right way to go in terms of confining cats. So it's been a good experience. my understanding is that over the 18 months, they only had 10 people ring up and complain about the cat confinement order. They also had a couple of people ring up and support it, and then 12 other people called the call centre asking for more information about the cat confinement order. So I think that's well, there's clearly some people who will be opposed to it, and as the survey points out, there's 14% who are opposed to it. From that around about 1,000 people, I think, who responded to the survey. I think definitely the large majority support it, and I support it as I did when we originally put the cat confinement order pilot to the vote. I still support it because I think it's actually in the best interest of cats, of legal cats, cats that are registered. It's actually in their best welfare to be confined, and it's actually in the best interest of our officers in terms of being able to catch cats that are feral or not owned by anyone, because they're the only ones who should be roaming the streets. So I definitely commend this motion to our councillors and hope that we can move on and put make all our cats more friendly in the process by being confined in the house.
Thank you, Councillor McConlon. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, you would be aware that I did have hesitation from the beginning with the cat confinement order, as I believed it was every living thing's human right to be able to have access to fresh air.
They're not human.
Oh, every living thing's right to have access to fresh air. However, you know, we have learnt through the pilot that a 24-hour cat confinement is not stopping them having access to fresh air. In fact, you can see from the pilot data, as Councillor Connellan brought forth, that this rollout has actually been commended by the community and the input, or majority of the community. Councillor Connan, it was 1,900 responses. So the 14% was only from the 1,900, and 2/3 of those expressed support and no concern. And the 1/3 that did, some were cat owners and some weren't, but the cat owners themselves supported it. And they suggested that there was this fine balance between the education side versus the compliance side of a confinement like this. And so I commend the officers for that approach that they have taken. Of course, when it first started, we'd know that it was an education, then it moved into a compliance side, and finding that balance is really important so that we educate people on the benefits, educating myself on the benefits, and so that we can come to terms with it, knowing all the good outcomes that it has. And so, as you said, many stakeholders supported the initiative. And I think it is really important when we talk about educating people that we both, residents like myself, understand both the order and its benefits. And so it was really clear from the data that we were seeing that it was about, nuisance complaints about cats, and it was significant. It's still a significant concern in our community. So by going ahead with this being a permanent confinement, we're actually going ahead with something that our community want, because that is such an important issue. But most importantly, the benefits that it has for cats as well. So there's that balance between education and enforcement, but it's about those long-term benefits for cat welfare, for public health, for wildlife protection, and working together. In fact, we didn't just hear from respondents saying we were for and against it. If you look into the data, they gave solutions. We would like to see more cat enclosures. We would like incentives.
Councillor, time. Would you like an extension of time, Councillor?
Yes,
Councillor Chen will move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor El Taha will put that to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Lang having extra time? Carried carried unanimously. Councillor, you have 2 more minutes.
Thank you.
I can see you, Laura.
So the community also gave solutions, and they were asking for incentives in terms of cat enclosures. It was asking for greater education on the benefits. It was asking for desexing compensation, and it was also asking for people to be aware of how they can do that fine balance by giving cats the property boundaries they need and keeping them safe. So this confinement order got great engagement. Everybody, in fact, there was like 72 residents that said we knew about it because we saw it on your bus stops. And then it had a great result in terms of people understanding the benefits and then following through. And then there were those practical suggestions which I support. So, councillors, the evidence of the pilot has been effective. It has been well supported. It aligns with our community expectations as well as state and federal policies. So therefore, tonight's recommendation is to continue the cat confinement in a permanent basis, continuing to balance education, enforcement and delivering long-term benefits for cats in Manningham.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Goff?
Well, not for to the motion.
To the motion.
It is, I'll start.
Do put your mic on. Thank you, Councillor.
Look, thanks very much. And this has gone through a process. Am I a person that wants to inhibit animals in the daytime to go around their yard and to perhaps jump over the fence and visit the next door neighbour and then jump back? I have got no problems with that whatsoever. I actually do believe a 24-hour confinement is not right. Cats do not cause the domestic animal problems to the state that is in here. And can I just say one thing? Feral cats do. Now, I know that there are some cats that have got out. We've got some statistics there for 18 months. But let me tell you, the people that were ringing up about this and the people putting in were overwhelmingly dog people. Okay. So we've got all of the dog owners and then the dog and cat owners on top of them. They're all dog owners and they're putting their point of view in the statistics there. I think it's about 80% of the respondents were that. 20% of the cat owners responded and 14% said no. So really, you know, when we start trying to base our things on those basic statistics that you've got there, I don't see I think it's misleading. And I just want to say I will support this going up, but I think what is being said in the sheer numbers and how it works out is misleading. I wanted to clarify that.
Can I just ask a question, please, of the officers? Because my reading of the report is that the respondent ownership breakdown related to consultation on the domestic animal management plan. On page 25, can I just ask a question of the officers, please? Because page 25 of our report talks about community consultation undertaken in June 2025 in preparation for the domestic animal management plan, sought views, and under that 62% were dog owners.
Madam Mayor, through you, thank you, that is correct.
14%.
So was there a breakdown for a community that responded to the cat confinement order on its own? Do we have that data or not?
If you look at paragraph 3.16, an analysis of the responses from the DAMP survey showed that 67% of responses were supportive or had no issues with the current order.
But we don't know whether they were cat owners or dog owners, as Councillor Goff said.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, Councillor Goff, just in your comments, that breakdown of dog owners and cat owners was done for the consultation undertaken in June in preparation of the DAMP, not necessarily in the cat confinement order. I just want to make that point of clarification.
Yes, Madam Mayor, but people are quoting things with statistics,
Yep.
with this, and then don't jumble statistics up in one article we've got here, because I've got against any. Now, if I've got the respondents, and I've got respondents that are dog owners 62%, I've got no problems with this, but dog owners 62 owned both 14, no pet owner was 5%, 17 or 18% were cat owners.
Thank you,
And
Councillor.
over 14%.
Thank you, Councillor.
against.
I was just providing
Yeah.
some clarification on the point that you raised, but your position is clear. So do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Chen.
Madam Mayor, you probably like to know that there was a cat called Gracie living in my neighborhood. She was so lovely. She was a very social cat. Whenever people who walk past her property, she always walk out to greet people. She made everyone feel welcome, feel valued, and just feel that I'm the only one she loved. So Gracie recently passed away, and 2 days ago I met Gracie. I walked past again. She meowed and walked out to greet me. But because of I said, oh no, there's a 24-hour confinement. I shouldn't let you go out of your property and outside the boundary. And I told Gracie, went back home, please. So I regretted that. 2 days later, there was a post that says, sorry, Gracie left us peacefully, and she had a lovely 19 years time with us. She wanted to let everyone know that Gracie has passed and let everyone know that she will be missed. My issue was that I know that I echo Councillor Goff's sentiment, and I also acknowledge Councillor Lang's change of her mind, and I respect those things. And I also acknowledge the data is here. And 797 responses specifically about cat confinement and nuisance. And I acknowledge that approximately 67 of the responses were supportive and had no issues with the current order. This is the people who like to put in the survey just to write their comments. But I also, from my conversation with the neighborhood, I also understand that there is a section that prefer night curfew rather than 24 hours. Perhaps just those people who just don't bother, as urban people who just very busy with their life and looking after kids, the jobs and the family chores, they just don't bother. And perhaps they are missing in this survey, and as a result, the statistics is here and data is here. And this is a democratic society. Even that I question the survey, the result, the interpretation, and I have to respect that as a councillor. So I want to take this opportunity to ask all members in our community, if you have issues, just spend a few minutes to write in us, just respond to the survey. You probably will change the outcome. So the outcome is there, and I just speak to the motion, and I still feel strongly that the night curfew and the urban and the country is different, and night curfew and 24 hours are different. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? I'm going to put that to a vote. Oh, sorry, would you like to close, Councillor?
Thank you. Just in regard to the statistics, so it's not clear as to, out of the 797, how many of those were dog owners, cat owners, or owned both. But out of the total statistics, there was 32% of the respondents owned a cat. Now, given that there's only 14 against any confinement, that's less than half of 32%. Therefore, I would argue it's highly likely that more than half of the cat owners actually support the cat confinement. So that I'd just like to close on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors, and that's carried unanimously. Okay, councillors, I'm going to move on to item 10.3, the Domestic Animal Management Plan 2026 to 2029. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do. Thank you. This is a very big motion because Australians do love animals. So we actually take domestic animals, all the policies and the act very seriously. So, Mayor, pursuant to Domestic Animals Act 1994, councils are required to develop and renew a domestic animal management plan every 4 years to outline how to manage dog and cat population, promote responsible pet ownership, and address animal-related issues within the community. The plan must cover areas like pet registration, public safety, managing nuisance animals, and ensuring compliance with the Act. Our current domestic animal management plan sunsets in 2025, and the new plan will need to be submitted by 4th of December 2025 to the Secretary of Agriculture Victoria, who oversees the administration of the Domestic Animals Act 1994. Council developed and implemented a 3-stage consultation process to raise awareness of the plan, highlights its objectives, key initiatives, and the opportunity for community to provide feedback. We also saw input and feedback from our diverse and selected key stakeholders to inform the draft of the plan. The responses we received were overwhelming. Council received 4,800 visits to Your Say Manningham page and 1,887 surveys completed, which was 5.5 times of survey completion rate than the previous plan. I did count. All age groups were represented. Some concerns from the feedback were dog off lead, not under control, dog waste, dog barking, wandering cats, cat confinement, registration cost, feedback in investigations, perceived lack of enforcement, and more leash-free areas. Suggestions Council received include education and engagement activities to promote responsible pet ownership, greater physical presence in the community by officers, enforce local laws, provide solutions to address dog waste, review positions of off-lead areas, including fencing, improve access and information on dog training, desexing of cats, initiatives to reduce dog barking, more infrastructure for dogs, subsidies for cat runs, additional infrastructure in leash-free areas. In response to the community feedback sought from internal stakeholders, including officers directly responsible for managing domestic animals within Manningham, 8 things have been developed to address the key objectives of the plan, including actions, timing, and evaluation to address the plan's key objectives. Those 8 things are training of authorized officers, promoting responsible pet ownership, animal registration and overpopulation, nuisance dogs and cats, dog walking and leash-free areas, minimizing the risk of dog attack, declared dangerous and menacing and restricted dogs, and domestic animal businesses. If the draft is endorsed tonight, it will be placed on public exhibition. Officers will then review the feedback. It is expected that the final draft will be endorsed at the 25th November 2025 Council meeting and submit to Agriculture Victoria by 4th of December. This will be the final stage of consultation for the next 4 years of domestic animal management plan. And I encourage our residents to review the draft, provide feedback to ensure that the document reflects the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and Councillor Chen did a very detailed analysis of the all of the themes, all of the priorities and the steps, so I won't go over them. I just wanted to say that, yes, it was very well engaged. There was engagement by the survey, and then there was community consultation through targeted stakeholders. And what this really showed was that there is a balance. Our community want to see a balance between pets and public spaces, and that issue really matters the most to residents. So looking after our pets in the most disciplined and healthy way, but also having access to safe and equipped public spaces. And so therefore it wouldn't surprise you then, from that being that most important issue, that the top list of concerns was about dogs being off lead or not under effective control, excessive barking, and the ongoing problem of dog waste in our public spaces. And then with cats was another strong theme, and that was about wandering or nuisance cats, and obviously the predation of wildlife. So these were the key issues that came up about pets. And of course there was then some other issues about the cost of registration, the frustration with investigative processes when residents complain to council, and the desire to see more enforcement from council in the responsible pet ownership area. And I think that's important when we go back to the very core purpose of a domestic animal management plan. And I'll say it again, that is that balance between pets and public spaces is that very important issue to our residents. So through that consultation, the residents have suggested greater investment in education and awareness of having dogs under control and looking after pets. There is the suggestion for more dog waste bins in our public spaces, expanding and a better design of leash-free areas so as that there is less conflict between people using our public spaces, particularly children, and the need to be able to healthily manage your pets and exercise them. And then practical supports of subsidies for cat enclosures, the compulsory desexing, and then obviously the plan to have the education on responsible dog ownership. So they were all part of the suggestions. Councillor Chen talked about the 8 themes.
Councillor, time. Would you like an extension of time, Councillor?
Please.
Can I have a seconder? Thank you. So Councillor Grievous moved, Councillor El-Tahar seconded. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. You have 2 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you. I, again, like Councillor Chen, won't need the 2 minutes. I was just getting to the point where there was that strong blend call for that balance of education and enforcement. And yes, there was the request for increased enforcement, but there was also the request for more education on responsible dog ownership. So I very much encourage the community to have a look at the draft plan. It is about managing your public spaces and the best way to have responsible pet ownership. So I ask the community to engage in this draft process. And I also want to acknowledge that if you look at all of the priorities and the actions that Councillor Chen went through, it is an ambitious plan, but it was achievable. There were guidelines on how that could be achieved. So I just want to encourage councillors to endorse the draft policy to go out for public exhibition, and let's do what we can to support responsible pet ownership, protect animal welfare, reduce nuisance, and safety concerns, because we all want to make Manningham a place where people, pets and wildlife coexist safely and respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Do I have any speakers to the motion? Then I will put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 11, Connected Communities. 11.1, Manningham Public Art and Collections Policy. Do I have a mover?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I recommend that the motion be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Councillor El-Tahar, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this motion as I am the chair of the Manningham Arts Committee, and I really value the role that art plays in shaping the culture of Manningham, whether people realise it or not. It is definitely a part of the fabric of our society. So by way of background, Manningham Council has an established collection of public and visual artworks that have been collected for more than 30 years, and the collection forms around $3.4 million of our asset base, which comprises more than 395 objects, paintings, sculptures, drawings, photographs, and a significant collection of ceramics. The collection is currently governed by two separate documents, the Public Art Policy, going from 2021 to 2024, and the Art Collection Policy from 2021 to 2024. As both policies are now due for review, officers have undertaken an assessment of their content and identified areas of overlap. Both policies apply the same underlying framework to guide acquisitions, resulting in some duplications. The structure and intent of both policies are closely aligned, indicating an opportunity to improve efficiencies and consistency. In addition, a service review of our arts and culture program was undertaken in 2024, and one of the key recommendations from that was to revise the existing percentage for art funding model. Officers also note that combining the two policies reflects a broader sector trends in this space, and integrated approaches for managing public and visual art collections is becoming standard practice. So the report in question outlines proposed updates and consolidation of the public arts policy and arts collection policy, and the revised policy is intended to provide greater clarity on why and how Manningham commissions, collects and cares for both public art and contemporary art as important cultural assets that benefit our community. The most significant updates are a revised approach to the funding model, such that funding now becomes part of a pooled fund drawdown from selected asset classes within the Capital Works program, clearer governance measures regarding curation, ensuring all collection and commissioning activity aligns with industry best practices and appropriate risk management is undertaken, and an upgraded curatorial framework. Importantly, the proposed changes also support several initiatives in the Council plan, such as activating Manningham Art Gallery and Manningham's Public Art Program as key cultural assets that attract visitation to our venues, parks and activity centres, and also the development and delivery of programs for local artists and creatives, including business development and opportunities to present their work, and finally to collaborate with traditional owners to share culture and stories that celebrate living within history. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Councillor Griffiths, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar, for your words. The only thing I wanted to add was it's great that we can see that two policies are being brought together as one, which is, I think, something that we should look at some of the policies that we have and integrate those, which works very well, especially for this public art policy. The other one I did want to mention is there's an opportunity here where we can actually pick up from all our residents if there's anything of significance for Manningham from a historical perspective, that they can actually bring them to us so we can actually review it and have a look at those. I think that will be an opportunity as well. So that's the only thing I want to mention. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion? Councillor Lang?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to add that very important point that Councillor Grievous just picked up on, and how the Manningham Public Art Collection also does incorporate that celebration of culture and history, acknowledging that our historic items are also part of our art assets, and that the community consultation with and stakeholder consultation on looking at these policies really showed that residents reflect with art in their everyday places, and they find a sense of ownership and connection and proud the artefacts that are in our Manningham community. And so I think that is worth acknowledging. There was also a real call to look from art that is made from local artists that celebrates back to, so like we did with our businesses supporting local, we're here with our art policy is supporting local artists as well. And I just wanted to bring that character that really reflects the history, the diversity and the character of Manningham and the local artists using that together for our public art. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Chen, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, I would like to ask a question, if I may. And I really support the combination of the two policies, make it clearer. And but the thing is, the main change, the key change is about the funding model. And the current model is 1% for the project over $2 million. And now the change will be selected assets classes within capital works. Does it mean that can we have some guidelines of what is that means? Is it what that means that any project below $2 million or even $1 million will contribute to 1% to the pool, or you have a guidelines or criteria? There's something I could not quite get it. Thank you.
I'll ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, if you'd like to provide a response to that.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. The way that the 1% would be allocated according to the new policy is that each public realm asset class has a total in your capital works program, and then 1% of that is then applied broadly for public art. And so in your report, there's a table that talks about what your allocations are within your capital works program for public realm works. They do vary each year, so there is a varied amount, and that would allow public art then to be allocated to projects within those asset classes where they might have the maximum impact. I hope that explains it.
Councillor Chen, does that provide you with the clarification you're requiring? Okay, thank you. Any other speakers to the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 12, City Services. There are no City Services reports this month. Item 13, Experience and Capability. 13.1, Manningham Quarterly Report, Quarter 4, April to June 2024 to 2025. Do I have a mover?
I move that the recommendation be adopted, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. And do I have a seconder? Second that, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
I would. Thank you, councillors. Tonight I'm pleased to present our Manningham Quarterly Report from April to June 2025. As you would know, it is the final quarter report for our financial year. So this quarterly report provides not only a snapshot of the quarter, but also a summary of the overall performance across finance, capital works, governance, community engagement, environment, and the delivery of our council plan. So may I just go through each one of those quickly? Let me begin with our capital works. We invested 45.7 million in infrastructure. That is 98% of adopted project budget, as well as 6.63 million in property acquisitions across the year. That's 184 projects that were active, and the 98 were completed in their achieved timeframes. I think that shows us all that we have a strong project delivery and investment in our future as a municipality. If I look then at financial performance, it is very clear that the council ended with a year with an operating surplus of 16.94 million, which was 112% favourable. And we know that this came about due to compensation payments from North East Link, higher than expected contributions with our open space, and grants for our kinders, libraries and community facilities. Importantly, councillors, this result shows the strengthened council asset base that we have and allowing us to continually invest in community infrastructure and services. So I look forward to that. On the council plan aspect, I am pleased to report that 16 major initiatives were either completed or on track. These initiatives were formed by our 2021 community panel, and they reflect the priorities of the residents. That was about expanding youth services like our My Hub, progressing the 20-year community infrastructure plan, and delivering our transport advocacy and safety programs. These are all real initiatives that came across from that council panel, and they came under all our themes in our council plan. In the area of community engagement, council widely was doing consultation through all their means, and that's both social media and Manningham Matters, and that's been on for the quarter for our road management plan, our domestic animal management plan, and parking in Bulleen. I'm also very pleased to say that we have delivered or distributed $788,000 in grants to our community organisations, Neighbourhood House and partners. Councillors, that shows we are continuing to invest in our local community groups, all to strengthen an inclusive, healthy wellbeing and participation in Manningham. If I look at our climate response and environmental programs, it talks about how we've got a strong focus there. We had National Tree Day, which was a success, with 450 community members planting 7,000 trees. Do you remember that, councillors? We were constantly digging and planting, and that just shows how much our community value National Tree Day and planting trees for the future. We also advanced our our nature plan, supported bushland management, and we also carried out 18 community waste education programs, again showing our advocacy and our projects and support for climate response and environmental programs. If I look at customer service, we continue to strive high and remain 95% of requests resolved within the timeframes, and acknowledgements also improved, noting that we still need to work towards our 85% target. And in governance, councillors, we should be very proud that this remains a really strong focus and strength of ours. We had the statutory planning with 89% of applications decided within the statutory timeframes. And councillors, all our decisions have been opened, and can I thank you for your 100% attendance in all our council duties in that time. So therefore, it really underlines in the quarterly report that we have a commitment to transparency and good governance.
Councillor, time.
And I'll leave something for Councillor Goff to say.
Thank you, Councillor. That's very generous of you. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. I won't go through what's exactly in the report, but what I am going to do is pick out two areas that I think I want to make a comment on. The first one is an area that I suppose we're going to be looking for to do what we need to do in the built-up areas of Manningham, and that's extend our parks and green areas where the population are, not where the bush is. So we need to actually look at that, and I look at the funding source for that, and I see that it's going down. If you look at item 13.1, financial status, we've got two. We've got the open space money that comes into the place to enable us to buy properties in more urban areas now. For many years it was selling properties in our urban area and buying bushland. Well, now it's going to have to be a bit the other way somehow, because we've got to actually get some open space for our community where they live. And where they live isn't in the non-urban area. Most of our community, 85% of our community, live in the urban area of Manningham. And we need to service those people with facilities, including open space. And in Doncaster Hill and all of those areas where we're putting it in, we need to do that. Now, I noticed that there were properties down there that added up to about 5.8 million, and prior to that we had about 11.1. So we've got now in our thing about 8.7. Let's make it 9. Oh, no, 8. So we're down 3 million. We're down 3 million in what we had in our reserve. We've spent money. Of course we've spent money because we've done some things in that, but we need to keep that. So that's something we have to watch. And also, if the level of development is falling down, the planning numbers are coming down, if people aren't doing divisions, subdivisions, things like that, we're not going to be getting those sorts of money in to fund into those things. The other thing is an area that has greatly improved in Manningham, but I just really want to talk about it. It's the customer service. And it's a good report. And by the way, before I finish, no, I'll do that if I get an extension. Look, it's a great report and it's clear. And I love these reports because they're beautifully written, easy to read, and you are able to get a grasp of some things. And what I took out of this one is something we need to really watch. Because if we are truly going to represent older people and not I suppose, discriminate against them, we need to actually answer our telephone. And when I look at the calls abandoned, and we've got a target of 5%. Now, all right, you say it's only 4% or 5% or 10% more, but that is an area. And it's an area that government, not just local government, but government at all levels is failing. It's failing to respond to people and communicate with them. I'll ask for extension. Thank
Would you like an extension of time, Councillor?
Thank you, Madam.
Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lang. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. You get another 2 minutes.
Thank you very much,
Councillor
Madam Mayor. And it is one of these fundamental human rights of being able to contact an organisation and talk to them. Now, we do it very well, and I'm not saying we're not. We've got fantastic figures here. We have set very high targets, and it'd be good to see that one come down. It really is. And also, the actual other one, calls answered within 60 seconds. And again, that's one of the biggest bugbears. Actually, the worst of the telephone companies. They don't want you to know their phone number, and they really don't answer it. But and government departments have got a problem with that too, in getting a timely message. And it'd be, if there's ways in which we can speed up the push this and push that at the start of it, which extends a phone call, that'd be great for that. But this area is an area that is, I believe, performing extremely well, even though I've highlighted 2 things that we need to actually improve on. But we need to bear in mind, when we are dealing with our community, not to act like abusing older people, not to take them for granted, but to actually respond for them and care for them, and not basically ignore them and go through an option always must be available to every person to access information, and that's not necessarily through digital means for older people. And I hope, and Council has done a good job of this, and we need to continue that, because being able to talk to these people, they're probably 40% of our population, so they're not a small number of people feeling very disenfranchised in our society. We don't want them to be disenfranchised in Manningham, and we're doing a good job. But you want to deal with federal or state government or other areas or businesses, they are feeling extremely disenfranchised. And I think in governmental terms, we are ignoring and abusing a section of our community, and especially in Manningham, it's about 40%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion or to the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour?
Can I close?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Lang, would you like to close?
Yes, please,
There's been
Madam
no
Mayor.
one speaking against, but...
Our rules did open it the other way.
Oh, did. Okay, yeah, go for it. Yep. Sorry, Councillor. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. I do note that our policy has changed there, and you can close no matter if there was speakers against or not. And
Yes,
I did
but
have
there wasn't
another.
another speaker.
I did have another speaker.
No, you didn't. You had a second.
Sorry.
Okay, what's the clarity?
Can we just... we just pause the meeting for a second and I'll just get some advice from governance. If no one has spoken against the motion, does the mover have the right of reply? Yes, you're still able to close. You have 2 minutes, councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Much appreciated. I do acknowledge what Councillor Goff said in terms of 2 areas or some areas of improvement, and that is well noted in the report. And that transparency, I think we should be very proud of, councillors. We don't just talk about what we're doing well, but we talk about the things that we need to improve into. And so that should give us great confidence that this report was transparent in both of those. So in closing, I would also like to bring that in governance we remain strong. Our CEO performance indicators were also completed on track. And again, there were 2 things that we were working towards. And therefore, this really highlights a positive year and quarter for Manningham. Therefore, we've nearly delivered the 46 million in infrastructure. We've ended the year in a strong financial position. We've achieved and progressed all our major initiatives in our council plan. We continue to provide excellent services, environmental leadership and strong governance, and we will continue to improve in those areas which we can, because nobody is perfect. So I'm very proud of this quarterly report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 13.2, Appointment of Authorised Officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. I'm going to put that to vote. All those in favour?
Can I speak to the motion?
Would you like to, sorry, Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Normally we just put on the vote, but I would like to have a change.
Of course. Change is good as a
Well,
holiday.
this is about appointment of an authorized officer and to a position that has the power of that position under legislation. So in this motion, this is about Planning and Environment Act 1987. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor El Taha, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Oh, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you all. Item 13.3, Informal Meetings of Councillors. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted with the following amendments to the Manningham Youth Advisory Committee informal meeting record for the meeting held on 10 September 2025. Councillor Laura Mann was an apology and Councillor Chen co-chaired the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you. It's very clear here. Thank you.
Councillor El Taha, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, just briefly, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that yet again, the month that have just passed had several meetings undertaken by councillors and council officers, always covering a broad range of topics across our municipality. And as Councillor Chen noted, the meetings that happened are outlined in the document. I just wanted to flag for community interest that one of the key agenda items on the Arts Committee meeting in August was reviewing and discussing the Creative Communities Framework. It was a very robust discussion by the committee members and that is coming together really well. So I just wanted to provide that update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? Well, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And again, that's carried. Item 13.4, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor El Taha?
No, thank you.
I'm going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? And again, that's carried. Thank you. Item 14, Chief Executive Officer. 14.1, 2024-25 Financial Report and Performance Statement Approval in Principle. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon.
Again, I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor, do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'll talk briefly to it. Councillors, this is our financial statements for the whole of 24-25, obviously reflecting the quarterly report in there as well, that we've already covered. But it's good that this has already gone to the Auditor General, and the draft closing report has, and the Auditor General's comments were that attachment 1, present fairly. So I guess that's a good thing from the Auditor General. I don't know if we could get any more words in there, but maybe he's a busy person, or she. But anyway, it's presents fairly. It's also been reviewed by the Audit and Risk Committee, which is great, and they're satisfied that the external audit is being undertaken, and by endorsing this, we endorse, myself and the Mayor, to sign basically that this is a true and accurate record, effectively authorising the report. So obviously there's things that we've spoken about many times during this this year already, but the key financial facts are we have a $32 million operating surplus, which was an increase of $24 million in the previous year, and obviously a large part of that was due to the sale of land to the North East Link or state government.
Confiscation of land.
Yes, whatever it was. But at least we were compensated, Councillor Goff. So, and then there's an underlying surplus of 23.7 million compared to a 5.5 million adjusted underlying deficit in the previous year. General rates, we achieved our fair go rates cap of 2.75% increase. Obviously, we continue to be debt-free, which is a good thing. Perhaps I think we're becoming rarer as one of the councils that remain debt-free. Though we don't want to broadcast that too loudly, because there might be other levels of government that want to get their hands on our money. So there's $51 million of capital works. It's definitely an outstanding achievement by the organisation. And I think, it's great to see that and we've had this conversation many times, but it's great to see that we're spending our money wisely, we're getting things done, we're creating good assets for the residents, and with that operating surplus of, in terms of the operating surplus, it gives us 16.94 million favourable compared to the actually adopted budget's about $4 million. Sorry, it's only $1.9 million difference, but it's still a good improvement by the organisation. So well done on achieving that. So there's lots of good news in there, and I don't have any with a lot of this stuff we've spoken over about all the variations in various briefings and over various meetings. So I'm very confident, given that it's been through an audit process, that the Auditor General's had a look at it, that we are on track and that this is a fair and reasonable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Councillor Bain, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to echo the words of Councillor Conlon. A very good result. Not all governments in Australia have a sound financial position, and it's worth celebrating ours. I'd also just simply and briefly like to acknowledge Mr Day and his executive team on effectively running the organisation. The financial report reflects the very good outcomes achieved in the fourth quarter and all quarters, as spoken of earlier. And I'd also like to acknowledge, as someone who's been a finance guy in similar size organisations, all the work of Mr Gorst and his team on their very good record keeping and reporting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion? Councillor Goff.
Well, I assume, Madam Mayor, that this report is going to be going off to the Auditor General for fine-up, but it's also included in the annual report and all of those. So those other areas are all pretty well ready to go. So we'll be filing our annual report once we hear back from that end of September, start of next month. Is that right? Thank you.
Just for the sake of the live stream, the CEO agreed with that. Okay, thank you, councillors. I'm going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item number 15, urgent business, and there are no items of urgent business. Item 16, council reports and question time. Councillors, if I may, I would like to kick off, because this time last week, councillors, we were sitting upstairs or standing or mingling upstairs for our Manningham Community Awards, where we had 70 nominees and we had award winners in 8 categories. So I'd love to just congratulate our award winners, if I may. Bulleen Tennis Club for Active Manningham Award, Kevin Hines Grove for the Inclusion Award, the Chinese Senior Citizens Club of Manningham for the Healthy Ageing Award, Warrandyte Arts Association for the Artistic Award, Youth Award to Noisha Carter Midaju. Sorry, Nusha, I didn't pronounce your surname as well as I should have. Community Excellence Award to the Warrandyte Pink Ladies. That really did add some colour and vibrancy to the event. Community Health and Wellbeing Award to the Venator Club Bulleen Men's Shed. And the Doreen Stowe's Volunteer of the Year Award to Leon Moore from Laughing All Abilities Really Friendly Singers. And the Manningham 2025 Citizen of the Year also awarded to Leon Moore. So I want to congratulate all of the winners. I also want to congratulate all of the finalists and all of the nominees, and to the team for staging last week. It was quite extraordinary, and the number of emails I've had from community members that were just thrilled to connect, thrilled to learn about new community groups and look at connections just to either expand their base or expand areas of support. So I think it really was a tremendous success. And to everybody listening to this live stream, please start putting your thinking caps on about nominating for the awards next year. Nominations open in March. Thank you. Councillors, anyone else have question times reports? Councillor Chen.
Thank you. I just want to report an event, Principals Breakfast. On 3rd September, Council held its 4th Principals Breakfast, co-hosted by 10 of our very engaging Youth Advisory Committee members. There were about 80 people attending, including councillors, community organizations, local religious organizations, and Victoria Police. Main concerns identified at the event including mental health, anxiety, social media, bullying, and isolation. Keynote speaker Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg kindly shared online interactive resources for the prevention and treatment of adolescent or teenage anxiety and depression. That is my report, and I would also like to ask a question, if I may, Mayor. Excuse me. Mayor, Victoria's speed zoning policy was updated in August 2025 to allow local councils to implement 30 kilometers per hour speed limits in areas with high pedestrian activity, such as shopping strips and around schools, to enhance pedestrian safety. Has this new speed limit been explored by officers? Have any potential locations been identified by officers? That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. I'll ask Tony McGann, the Acting Director of City Services, to provide an update for you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for the question. The 30-kilometre speed limit is a new speed zone that has been adopted by the Department of Transport and Planning in their speed zoning policy. This was only done in late August this year. The update introduced a 30k speed limit as an option for areas, as you have said, an option for areas with high pedestrian activity, such as shopping strips and around schools. Now, at this stage, we don't have a short list of roads where the reduced speed limit may be of benefit. However, the review of speed limits on our roads to improve safety is one of the key action items in our recently endorsed road safety strategy, and as a result, officers will endeavour to review speed limits in those high priority areas. Councils will still need to seek approval for any proposed speed changes from...
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Councillor Chen, for your question. Do I have any other questions or reports, councillors? Councillor El Taha?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight I would like to share a community event, and I also have a question for officers. Firstly, I just wanted to provide an update on the Templestowe route upgrade construction, which is progressing well and on track in terms of schedule completion. In order to support visitation to the village, a school holiday program is being run almost daily in the village. For this week and next week, from Wednesday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m, there will be fun-filled activities across the village. The focus of this week and kicking off tomorrow is a footy-themed scavenger hunt, and next week is a pirate-themed scavenger hunt. There's lots of prizes for the kids up for grabs, as well as a roaming face painter, so that should provide lots of fun if anyone's looking for a way to entertain their kids. My question for the officers is regards to the overgrown and unruly blackberry bushes that have engulfed the trees at Petty's Orchard. We also had a very passionate member of the community come tonight, and his question just missed out on question time, but he'll be forwarding it next week, and he's done a lot of, next month, sorry, and he's done a lot of advocacy on this area. If you wander along the orchard at Petty's Orchard, you'll clearly see blackberry bushes have run wild, are taking over sheds and suffocating trees. Looking into the history of this issue, I'm aware that responsibility has been handballed from various government bodies, and this has been happening for several years. In the meantime, the issue has been absolutely exacerbated. While I understand presently this is a Parks Victoria reserve to manage, and council officers have been advocating for this to be addressed for several months, I am cognizant of what an important piece of Manningham history Petty's Orchard offers to the community and the legacy this orchard presents. I would therefore like to understand what practical support council can offer to ensure its preservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha, for your very important question. Again, I'm going to ask Tony McGann to provide a response.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for the question. You are correct. The land is controlled by Parks Victoria, and they are responsible for controlling that weed on the land. Having said that, and we have been advocating for works to be done, to some extent I'll take your question on notice. I do think we possibly need to ramp up our efforts on that and just see if there's anything practical that we can do to actually, I suppose, address the problem in a real way.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Councillor Goff, I saw you put your hand up. Would you like to ask a question or make a statement?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I sort of do want to ask a question, but I'm not going to ask the questions I was planning to ask earlier on. There are two areas of issue in Boland Ward, besides, I suppose it is the direct of the North East Link, but is a parking issue and residents and parking permits. It's an issue that the parking situation in Ilma Court we sort of addressed a few months ago, but I'm still getting issues there, so I'm just wondering if we can re-look at it and see if we can actually solve that one to the satisfaction of the people that live in the street. And they're very important, because these are people that lived in this street, and we really need to do that. And I'm also looking at parking of vehicles by people, and I can understand why they want to, that are working on the North East Link in our streets, especially in St Andrews Crescent and Golden Way. And I'm getting a number of people, it's not just one, I'm getting a number of people ringing me on a regular basis saying they're not seeing officers around and people aren't getting booked and cars are there all day long and no one's doing anything about it and all the rest. So, and there's also a parking permit for individuals that's involved in that one too, because we're being quite unfair. These people are being discriminated against because they have an A and a 51A or 51B or whatever, and it's been subdivided in the past, and they're not being treated like a resident of the area as a second-class citizen with their rights in a motor car. And I'm just wondering if we could actually look into those issues and get a report back, or an action those issues if they can be actioned, or get a report back at an SBS, I'm wondering, in about 2 weeks' time, and so that we could actually, if we need to, get motions organised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll ask the CEO, Andrew Day, if he can respond to us. There were 3 questions there.
Well, it's 3 issues.
But it's
one
in particular
question.
the report.
I want to know about them and get back to an SBS, and that's basically the question.
Yeah, no, obviously we can come back to you on that, Councillor. I would say we have been actively monitoring and have some awareness of each of those issues for some time, but particularly as it relates to that area around St Andrews and Rockley, Elmer Court and Rob Close, obviously, and we are aware of that issue around permits as well, so we can provide councillors with some information back on that.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Jeff, for Councillor Goff for raising these important matters. Do I have any other councillors who would like? Councillor Lang.
Thank you. I also am going to change what I was going to do. I think we saw the jam-packed chambers this evening, Madam Mayor, and therefore the excellent representation via our community and our youth in particular. So I have 2 questions. First of all, regarding the Warrandyte Scout Group, what can be done in the short-term future to provide the Warrandyte Scouts with an appropriate Scout Hall? Therefore, could they begin utilising the Warrandyte Seniors Hall, which I believe is currently underutilised, and then maybe a long, medium-term plan, a new venue or expanded venue once the Warrandyte Community Infrastructure Plan is identified or implemented? And in terms of the Warrandyte Basketball Group, councillors, we've got the map that we were given in front of us. Considering the map that councillors received, the Manningham basketball facilities are utilised predominantly by 2 clubs, the Bulleen Boomers and the Blackburn Vikings, and Mullumbimby Stadium users, these user groups use Mullumbimby Stadium too, which is fine, but how can other sport, and these are utilised by other sports and private businesses, but how in the short term can this facility, which is facility for all of Manningham, how can the Warrandyte Basketball Association utilise it now for this coming season while the long-term review is underway? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. I'll ask Lee Robson to provide a response to your 2 questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Lang. With regards to the Warrandyte Scouts, we will be having a look at what options in the interim might be available to them, and I will be coming back to councillors. We will be briefing you shortly on the Warrandyte Community Facilities research, and that will form part of that SBS discussion. In terms of the Warrandyte Basketball Association, that is something I'm going to have to take on notice to have a look at whether or not there's any capacity to be able to meet their needs in the short term, given that our stadiums are fully booked currently.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Grievous.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to mention that in the past month, councillors were taken out to the ball game with the Doncaster Dragons basketball team, who held a come and try free session for everyone. So it was a fantastic event in the morning with kids ranging from 5 to 18 years who got involved in a new sport that they've probably never tried before, and allowed us to have a look and see what the club itself. So a big well done to Duffy Delling and Peter Irvin of the club, who's the president and secretary. Well done to them on a great event, and the uptake was amazing from what they came back to us with. So getting people active in Manningham.
Great.
And the second one is I just wanted to let everyone know that we have a number of holiday programs on the go. Some of those are casual basketball sessions at Manningham Stadium and disc program, run for a holiday program, squash sessions, table tennis sessions. There's the Doncaster and Templestowe Art Society Spring Exhibition, which is part of our arts this Sunday, which is fantastic. There was a free bike check for young riders today, which you could take your bike and have it checked so you can go out and ride. And also volleyball school holiday program. That's just to name a few. There's a lot more. Please get onto the website and have a look at what holiday programs are out there.
Great plug. Thank you. Councillors, anyone else like to raise a question, make a statement?
I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Vane.
Madam Mayor, unusually I would like to make a comment on an international event rather than a local event because I believe its lessons are applicable to us in Manningham. Many were across the world severely confronted by the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the leaving behind of a young widow and orphan children. Charlie Kirk had many values. Some of us will agree with many of them, some of us will agree with few of them. But two of those values were democracy and freedom of speech, and I think in the West we should all agree with those values. If you'll permit me, Madam Mayor, there was an article written by Andrew Hastie for a publication called The Daily Declaration, which is a Christian newsletter, and I would like to read it because I think it captures the views of me, but also many in our community. There's a painting I want you to see. I saw it back in January 2014. And the artwork held my gaze for a long time. It's more than 500 years old, but even after half a millennium, the artist speaks into the darkness of Charlie Kirk's murder. I want you to see Raphael's cartoon of Paul preaching at Athens, painted for the Sistine Chapel around 1515, now displayed at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. In this painting, we see the best of Western civilization on display: faith, reason, inquiry, debate, and persuasion. Charlie Kirk modelled these things at universities across the world. He stood in a tradition that reaches all the way back to the New Testament. We see this in Raphael's painting. His paintbrush was inspired by biblical events recounted in the New Testament, where the Apostle Paul visited Athens and preached the gospel and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In Acts 17, it says that Paul reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and devout persons, and in the marketplace every day with those who happened to be there. Paul gave a sermon in ancient Athens using Greek religion and culture to build common ground with the local audience. He met people at their level. Not everyone agreed with Paul, as you would expect. The scriptures...
Councillor, I'm sorry, time.
I would like to ask for an extension, Madam Mayor.
You're not allowed an extension of time for councillor reports. I'm sorry, councillor.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have any other councillors? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a couple of questions, and they relate to the question time we had at the start of the meeting, actually. So one of those is regarding the Doncaster Rovers request. It wasn't really clear to me if this requires a process of changing policy, and in terms of, because my understanding is that the officers are going to review their request and consider it, but I'm not sure if it is coming back to council for discussion in any way or form, or is it just an internal, interpretation of policy, or is it something that we should consider? So that's one question. You can take that on notice. And just following up on Councillor Lang's comment, I am sort of deeply concerned that that local clubs don't get priority in terms of indoor allocation. And I think I would like to understand what it takes, whether it's a councillor motion to promote that in terms of the ranking and in terms of allocation. And I understand the process that we're going through. As I'm on RASAC, I've had a few discussions about it. I guess I wasn't aware of the urgency in terms of particularly the comments of the Warrandyte Basketball Club president in terms of existential. I think he used the words, which is pretty severe, and I would like to understand what their actual ask is. What can we do to help them? And I do. Our view, my view, and I thought the council's view has always been that Manningham clubs would be given priority in terms of allocation.
Thank you, Councillor. That's time, but I'm going to ask Lee Robson if there's any parts of that you'd like to answer or take it on notice.
Thanks for those questions, and we will take some of it on notice. At the moment, there is no explicit policy about how courts are allocated. So that work is being done and it will come back to council for endorsement as part of the indoor sports development plan, so that there is clarity about how allocations are made. At the moment, it's largely been historical, and Warrandyte has been caught up in that. So there is some work that will provide that clarity going forward. With regards to your other question, I'll take that on notice and we will come back to councillors regarding that. And I'll just say about the Rovers that we are doing benchmarking to have a look at consistency across the competition in other councils as well. So if competition has games that are scheduled till 10 p.m, then we'll take that into account and look at shifting our guidelines around that.
I think, Councillor, if we would like it to come back to a briefing, then we can ask the officers for it to come back. And I think based on the size of the petition, it's probably something that all councillors should be briefed further on. Councillor Mayne, did you have any reports noting that it's 5 a.m. where you are? Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on then. Thank you. Was that everyone, councillors? Yes. Item number 17, confidential reports. Councillors, with one confidential report tonight. Can I have a motion, please, to close the council meeting to the public so we can consider this confidential matter? Do I have a mover?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that I move that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to the sections 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following item. Item 17.1, our waste contracts and procurement plan.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chen.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I put that to a vote? All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. So I will now close this meeting to members of the public. Thank you, our loyal and faithful follower. And we'll also close the live stream.